Soviet Union, because they are threatened outside of their own borders very much. And I believe the Americans make it a little bit too easy, because they can very much shove the problem away and say, we can make surgical strikes. These weapons are made for small strikes, for surgical strikes, and thus you could try to limit war, which is, to me, insane.
Historically, we put nuclear weapons in Europe, the United States did, in order to deter a Soviet ground attack, and in a sense to compensate for what we considered to be the superiority in numbers of Soviet troops over NATO troops. But when the Soviet Union developed the capability to provide nuclear weapons in Europe, it negated the capability of our nuclear weapons to deter a war. It put us into a war-fighting situation.
Soviet people are just as much afraid of us as we are probably of them. And yet we in Germany have a historic and moral mission, I believe, because we have started too many wars, and we have also made too much damage in the Soviet Union. 20 million people have died there because the Germans have started their war, have marched in. So we feel the mission must come from the people to start having another picture of these people, because every time we're confronted by the Soviet Union, we see women, men and children. We do not see armies, and we do not believe, truly do not believe, that the Russians will march in here overnight. We don't believe it. And if they did, we know we have enough conventional weapons, enough air and sea-based systems already in NATO to confront any threat. This total overkill capacity is totally insane, and we must start somewhere to stop it.
These are pictures from a BBC film called The War Game, made in 1965 and banned from showing on television. Then almost all the press supported the official reason for the ban, that the film was too horrible to show. The unofficial truth is revealed in this letter by Lord Normanbrook, then chairman of the BBC Governors, who wrote that the war game on television might have a significant effect on public attitudes towards the policy of nuclear deterrence. For many years afterwards, the nuclear debate languished. But last year, the greatest peaceful gatherings of people since World War II took place in Europe and the United States. Last June, almost 1 million people transformed New York. 72% of all Americans, said a poll, wanted a halt to all nuclear arms building. Those who accused European campaigners of being anti-American would now have to level the same charge at millions of Americans who, said one newspaper, are reclaiming our American democracy. Paul Warmke was senior negotiator in the strategic arms limitation talks known as SALT. You're one of those who have sat down over a long period of time with the Russians negotiating. Could you give us a glimpse of how the Russian leadership thinks?
I would say that I see them as being very interested in